Hello everybody and welcome back to Wappelville. We're going to be working on Minotaur here and I'll show you where it comes from in a second. Actually, I have the Kickstarter page up there. What I'm hoping to do is some snow effects on the base here. Don't know if I'll have time for icicles. If I do, that'll be fun. But secret weapon, crushed glass technique, a bit like this. Now let's take you to the... Here, I'm going to make sure that I can see if anybody's in the chat here. But let's take you over, boom, so I at least know the name of it here. So Beast Wars, there we go. That's what I thought it was called. But look at, you see my guy right over there on the right hand side of the image. I also have the one on the left there, so we'll be doing him too. So here, let's go back to our regularly scheduled scene, and guess what, we have no... Here, let's see if that works. Nope, that does nothing. So let's do something like this right here. Nope. Yeah, this is well, I have an interview to do actually tomorrow. Here, I'm gonna throw in my widget right here. No, not a Twitch one. We're gonna do this one. So with Vince Venturella tomorrow night, I'm gonna be doing a... I think he's been interviewing different instructors, I guess, if you want to call us that. Here, let's see if we can... There we go. We have to authorize it. Yay. And let's see if we actually get a chat out of this. Wouldn't be surprised if YouTube just, oh, look at that. Yay, it actually works. So now we can put this thing off to the side and make the window bigger, and then I can actually see what I am doing here. So let's get this one out of the way. 1 second. Ah, there. Hey, Tyler, how's it going? Yeah, that's quite the piece of work there. Maybe he took it off of somebody, I guess. But I thought this could be fun. There's some skin tones. Check out the references that I got there. I thought it might be fun to do some skin tones like that. Let's see what we got going on this reference over here. So, oh, he's got a whole bunch of blood on him. Ah, maybe we do some blood effects too. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. But I want to get some purples in here. But we're not going to actually use any purple. We are going to be using right over here. Oh, hey, Jan. How's it going? It's transparent black, transparent brown, some of the usuals that you've been seeing from me lately. And we're also going to be using some of the opaque, and with Creature Caster, Monument, Slow Fuse, whatever. These guys, when they say opaque, they are opaque. Boy, actually, I'm going to be doing a video soon. Oh, and some of you know that I've been wanting to make my own homemade oil brushers since, well, like forever. Well, that's going to happen now because I found something way more economical than, let's say, the... Oh, what was it that we've been using? The... Not jewelry, the nail polish containers. I found 1 inch or 1 ounce container. Oh, hey, Kamitrion, how's it going? Well, hopefully this is fun for you here. Let's get this base taken care of. Well, you know the story. We're just gonna try and get the whole all the primer stuff out of the way here. So we're gonna make ourselves a little bit of a mix. Nice thing about the ProAcryls, say, versus the contrast paints. I'm gonna zoom in here a bit, I think, and that should be helpful. This is, you can use water to thin them instead of having to screw around with the contrast medium and other things that, well, get kind of pricey. Now, once I get the primer covered up here, I think I'm going to have to turn on my other light because I just can't see squat here. So let me see what happens when I switch this around. Let me get my brightness going here a bit. There. I was filming another video. I'll show you what I was filming for the Patreon page. And the camera and everything, the lights were fantastic. I changed nothing. I come back here like less than an hour later, and everything is just not wanting to cooperate. Uh-oh, I think Frankie Goes to Hollywood's here. Yeah. So I'll show you again here. This is from Beast Wars here. This was a Kickstarter that was out, well, let's see, whenever. But October 2020 is its estimated delivery. In any case, there's another couple of figures from this that I also have, so I'll be showing you some of those too. We'll be painting some of those live. So again, I'm just getting here on my base. It was done in the usual tree bark way. Done with the usual tree bark like a lot of my Lord of the Rings armies. I'm even going to let this get up into his fur here. But yeah, oil brushers. I've got these 1 ounce containers, and I'm super excited about those. Oh, good morning. Now let's see, what is it? It's 237 here. Is it 937 there? That's my guess, and I'm sticking to it. That is my official guess. So we're just going to take the makeup sponge and wipe away some of the paint here. I got a couple more. Actually, I got a few more bags of these guys for the Adepticon classes. So here we go. Yeah, here I'm going to maybe move this out of the way and see if that does anything. And we're going to cut our brightness down a touch. Gonna remove some more here. And we're gonna do the same thing to the Minotaur. There. See how that starts to reveal the lighter texture? I'm gonna just go back to, I don't know what's going on with the camera here. That's just being a real colossal pain here. So we're just gonna go with this and see what we can do with that. Now we want to do some, it is 9:38, so I was right. Yay. I've got almost some purple type color in the skin tone. So what I'm going to do here is just sort of make a de facto kind of purple. That's just taking a transparent red and a transparent blue. And we are just going to go right into here. And say, wait a minute, purple Minotaur, what's up with that? That's a horrible mess. And, well, you'd be right if that's all we were going to do with it. But we're going to do a little bit more than just that. So what we're going to do is get some of this transparent brown back out here. They always talk about letting the colors mix and do things, right? So let's get some of this transparent brown in here. We're going to let the two of those mix together, and that should make for some interesting skin tones. I'll even let some of the darker stuff get in here. The idea is just to get away from that primer, and it's the usual Badger Steino res, nothing fancy with that. So again, we're going to be letting this stuff just kind of mix together on its own here, because the transparent brown and the purple together are going to make an interesting kind of a reddish skin tone. See that one that's in the lower right hand corner, that reference? That's kind of what I'm after here. But it also gets a little bit on the grayish side. There we are. We'll let some of this darker stuff get in as we work our way down. And now we're going to go even darker over here on some of these items before we get back to... Yeah, see, I'm looking at his hands. See how they're a little bit on the darker side? That's what I'm hoping to do here. See what that did? So you can see those different colors sort of working their way together. That's what I was hoping for. Now we're going to take our this transparent brown, mix it with some of that yellow ochre type color. Work that into here. And into here. These look like actually some kind of baboon type head, some kind of monkey type heads over here. But what I'm going to do is also cut up some of my sponges here. So all I can figure is that just the act of going live is doing something weird to the camera. That I've been kind of waylaid by horrible tech things while filming just my regular videos this week. I have no idea exactly what's going on with that. But YouTube just likes to torment you no matter what. I think that's just what it does for fun. Let's see how we got. There's all these different colors that work their way in there just right off the bat. We didn't have to struggle with a whole bunch of glazing and all that other sort of stuff. Now here, let's grab some of this gray blue and his snazzy weapon here. Now let's change up some things. I'm just literally grabbing colors, throwing them on there. We'll let those mix and boom. We shall remove some of that and reveal the Stino-Res underneath. Oh, hey, Will. How you doing? There. Actually, this was fun. Some of this got on the sponge and then got over here. So look, we got another transition working its way over there too. Now we got some armor here. Let's hit it with this. Then a touch of that blue. Let that all just sort of blend together here. We'll throw a touch of the transparent brown in there. Sorry, my voice is probably going to also be wonky tonight too because I just filmed about 4 hours worth of videos before I got to here. And look at this. You can see some of the brown in there, some of the blue. And that's just, look at all those different textures and colors and everything else. It's been a wild week to say the least. I did film my first terrain video. Of course, the camera equipment, the mic, everything just tormented me. The piece of terrain was fantastic. It was from Panhandle 3D, and I absolutely loved it. I'll be putting pictures up on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. So you see the Instagram address over there. If you want to see finished pictures of stuff, that's generally where it gets shown. So look at this. We're what, 10 minutes into this thing? And we already have lots of different colors going on. Oh, I haven't actually been sick since, well, Adepticon last year, pretty much. It's just when I film a lot of stuff, my voice is just not used to talking that much, and it gets a little gravelly, I guess. And yeah, they're definitely going to try and avoid any of the usual con crud type things with Adepticon coming so soon. Which means we just kind of barricade the doors here before that. Because I think actually Kathy got sick with her D&D group or something last year. Right before Adepticon, which was handy in the same way like the razor blade to the face is handy. That was not cool. But look at this nifty geology that's going on with this tree bark right here. I'm also not going to do too much with it because, well, if I want to do snow effects there, and I get that too light, my snow effects aren't going to do a whole bunch. I was thinking about going almost a little bit more forest on this. But I thought if the Minotaur has a little bit maybe darker skin tone or something along those lines, that maybe, just maybe, that snow will stand out pretty nice. So again, if it gets too light, you can see I got the nice wide filbert brush thing going on there. Here, we'll just throw a few more lights on that. It's not like I'm not going to go back into this and probably do some more Glazing, tone things down, maybe bring some things up. It's kind of what I always do. So we're just down here into the base. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what is going on with the camera here. I'm gonna play with the yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's doing there. That's a little better, I think. So just bear with me here. I'm gonna yeah, that's more like it. Here, let me get my focus back for you. Aha. There we go. That's what I like to see. Oh, so much better. I have no idea what in the world was going on there. But boy, that sure looks more like what I thought it was. Here, we're gonna get some more warm colors into the base, like you do. I think what happened is maybe I bumped into the camera a couple of times when I was setting things up here, and who knows why that should do anything, but it did. Oh yeah. I mean, look at the purples here. Now I can really see that. Look at that. See that? Yeah. Oh, is that Jack Sarge? It is. Hey there. Much fur. Been thinking about improving my fur and hair painting. There's some fur back here, such as it is. So we'll try and emphasize that if possible. But you saw the main goal was just to get rid of that primer. Get some paint absolutely everywhere on this puppy. And I do like see how we got the darker stuff going on with the end of the horns there. So we're going to keep some of that too. All right. Now I've got my purple over here. Still got that transparent brown. Oh, let's do some semi-opaque things here. And we can start doing some lighter stuff too. Now it's about we start to bring out a little bit of this color. I'm gonna throw some greens also. It is that whole, well, half man, half bull sort of thing. So the one thing though to keep in mind is as you start adding these the ProAcryl non-transparent paints, boy, you start stepping away from transparent real fast, and I mean really, really fast. And I want to do, yeah, I might try to, if I can, I'll try and do some of the blood effects. Maybe we try and paint some fur texture into this area also. Let's see, I'm going to just cut down on this light a bit. That's also better. Let's get some more shading going on here. Just real quick, all of a sudden, boom. Oh yeah, I wish I don't know if these are rhesus monkeys or whatever. I think the ones that have those kind of colorful sort of jowl things going on. If we get to those, we get to them, but really the most important thing here is Mr. Minotaur. I'm going to get some reddish brown onto that. Let's start to change this paradigm a little bit here. There we go. How's about a little yellow in there too? And we'll just look at that. We're going to let that blend together. It's almost like we're doing the weathering paint stuff. Oh, what the heck? Let's play with that some more. I just want to see what happens here. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Push that around. It's all wet. Now, what do we want to do here? Let's go with take that basically blue, black, and black. We'll mix them together here. Bit more of the black. I want that to be, there we go. So we're just trying to darken the fur here, get it one more color type in here. Can you see that? Okay, you can see that. So I do apologize that I haven't been able to do one of these, geez, in forever it seems. Boy, that trying to film, like I said, that terrain video, I lost a solid week just to that. That was brutal. And it's never easy to set up a new filming area, but this this was pretty savage. I mean, it was there was one point where I said, I don't know what the heck is going on. So, I'm gonna make this a bit more of a tan while I'm thinking about it here. Geez, when's the last time I painted anything like a Minotaur or whatever? Can't even. Jeez, I don't even want to speculate when's the last time I did something like that. So hopefully now when I switch my lights back over again a little bit, I won't get any of the weird artifacts anymore. It takes only a few minutes and you get the thing looking that's awesome. Well, I do appreciate that. I mean, part of it's survival, because, well, this is what we do for a living, and obviously time is a wasting all day, every day. But just to, oh, okay, I want my Lord of the Rings armies or whatever. Just I had to, even if I wasn't doing this for a living, I'd still have to do it fast because we all only have so much time outside of what we do for a living. I only got so much time for things. Only so much time as we lighten up this here. Look at this. Very quick. Very quick. Trying to emphasize the end of the horns are darker. I mean, we'll get in here to the face too. But I'm going to let that dry just a bit more. I'm going to sneak in a touch of this yellow here too. And I'll be doing some glazes over the top of that. Now let's not forget, I always try to do non-metallic stuff, object source lighting stuff. Get that going as soon as possible. Always a choice here. Basically, where's your light stuff going to land? Your midtones and such on here. So we're going to do something like this, I believe. Something like that. Yeah, let's get the back edge of that and leave that as dark as possible. We'll just throw a couple of little strokes there. Saint it's Majkil. I'm assuming actually. Hopefully, I'm not assuming wrong that is potentially potentially. No, that's not a Dutch. That is not Dutch. So sorry. If any time I incorrectly gauge nationalities or points of origin, feel free to let me know. I still have to make my cheat sheet of greetings in many languages. There's not enough room for that cheat sheet here right now, so that's why you don't see it. I'm going to try and get a little bit of this color also down here. Remember, the color goes somewhere. It must go everywhere. Now, how's about back over here again? Let that get a little lighter. So all we did was those initial quick glazes, right? And now we're just starting to play with those a bit. Here, let's get onto the armor over here. Because the sooner I block everything in like this, then the sooner I can get to, well, what would you say, some of the more interesting, fun things, if you want to call it that. I just want to make sure that you can see what I've got going here. There will be some more glazes into that area. Also, this fur here, what the heck, we'll just make that maybe lighter there since I'm going to assume it's not his fur, it's someone else's fur. I see we've got ourselves this on his wrist. Let's see what I can do to get some Something more interesting here on these faces. We're just going to lighten those up. Lighten these guys up here. Now I can see there are, yeah, I'm going to maybe try and, boy, I wish I had seen these sooner. I would have tried to snag a reference of those to throw up on the screen. But it is what it is. I can always just later on go after that. Now when I made this base here, I was also working on a batch of new Rohan bases, a Rohan Cavalry. I'm going to try and actually maybe paint some of those on the Twitch channel. So if you haven't followed the Twitch channel yet, it's pretty simple. It's just Wappelius, the same as my Instagram address. It's just Wappelius Twitch TV, whatever that is. Nothing fancy. I had thought of some clever name or whatever, and then I realized, nah, you know what? I'm probably just better off keeping it simple. So again, some orange over here, just to get some variety in this. There's going to be all kinds of fun colors in this eventually. I'll let some of that work its way into there. Now, if we're doing the snow bases, I also have to think of that when we do the, say, the reflected light here. We're going to grab some of this pale green. I'll turn this upside down. And we're just going to start to get some, and this is all about the reflected light here. We're going to be doing some glazes on this. Who knows? I might even change that to something more like a gold or bronze or whatever. Like I said, that's going to depend on other factors. I might even have to wait till I get the snow on there just to see which way that's going to go. You know, let's play with that. So I took a little bit of the orange here. And I'll glaze over the top of this, but I'm just going to put that little bit of texture in there with a different color. Now his face. Let's start to bring out some of the stuff in the face here. First off, well, let's give him some kind of eyes here. Again, going to use some of the opaque stuff. Mix that. Yeah, we're using the ProAcryl Transparent. I'm going to turn up my brightness a bit now that we've got most of that primer out of the way. Oh, I'm just going to, let's see, what do we got going for his two tusks over here, right? Now, let's go back to some of our purples and lighter tones like this. Here, let's get right in here. Let's try some of this. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Me, not so much. That's why I'm going to have to switch over the lights at some point here so that I can get a better view of this. And it's interesting because the color that's this dark, you can see how well established our darks are on here because it doesn't, I mean, it's almost looking like a highlight color by comparison. Now we got lots of muscle type things in here. Let's hit those two. You can see some of the initial glazes, they're still wet. They're still drying. That's how fast all this has been going. That's why I thought, since he is, well, I don't want to say monotone or anything like that. Don't even want to hint at that. I thought there could be some fun little things we could do here and not that much time. So now we got something that's a little bit more on the reddish side. So it basically kind of plays into the purple a little bit. We're trying to just do as many fun little skin tones as we can on him. Like I said, we'll get some greens in here. I think, how in the heck are you going to work all that stuff in there? We'll do it. We can do it. Wow, there's I see some scarring over here. So that's actually more of a brown. So I'm going to grab something more like this here, and we'll play along with that. I also see some potential green that could be interesting in the shadow areas. We always talk about the different type of contrasts. How you've got the typical light versus dark, right? Yeah, that's kind of, well, everybody thinks of that. And then maybe even red versus green, but sometimes saturated versus unsaturated is one of the really most interesting types of contrast. Now what I'm going to do here, speaking of green, we're just going to start making some greens. And this is not the bright Kelly green that you might be thinking of. It's just a homemade green with some of the blue and that basically the gray that we used, the bluish gray that we used in our metals. And now that's going to formulate a green for us, and I'm going to use that in a few places here. Going to even use it on the armor. Going to try and work that into his face even here. A lot of that you will not see towards the end, but we're even going to start to get some of that into the skin tones here. We can even go a little darker, a little bit more of the gray blue in there. And then if I do see if I can actually brush in a little bit of hair texture, so we're wanting to do fur, right? So here we can start to brush in some of that fur texture and have it kind of expand out into the rest of his fur. And it's more interesting. Like I say, you got all of this wide open area. Why just paint him brown? All right, so I think it's time. I'm going to give it a shot here, see what happens. Aha. Okay. Yeah, that works. Now I can see what I'm doing. Yay. It's so much better. So we're getting some of this pink color down into here. And as we start to get some more lights on these muscles, those start to pop out a little more. So where's I'm going to grab this one here. I think this is a good example. So you can see how there's the green in there. Now I'm going to back off some of these lights now that I got my regular light going here. Oops. Didn't want to be hitting that camera. I'm going to change my color intensity. There we go. That's always good. Going to go back into that green again, and you're going to see even more of that green down here because, well, remember the snow I was talking about and reflecting the snow? Even on cloth and skin, it's not quite like metal reflection, but still, you want to think about it, and because we've got the purple over here next to it, it's just going to register as sort of like a grayish color. Look at that. See how I've got the green on the other end of that purple there? Oh, hey, Gary. It's first Gary. Mandrills is the name of the monkey. Oh, mandrills. So that's sort of almost like alternating blue and red and white stripes almost, I think. Unfortunately, I cannot go in. I tried it once to add some extra reference pictures while I was in XSplit actually trying to film or stream, and that's not good. That just kind of zonks XSplit. We don't want that. But we do want, see that green, how it's worked its way next to the purple there, but let's not forget that red color that we made. And this is essentially almost like where we're in the initial stages, we just kind of let the glazes kind of mix together where we wanted. This maybe is still like what, a more controlled version of that, I suppose. Somewhat more controlled version, and we're going to get some more of our. But I don't want to lose the green there. I don't want to actually lose the purple either. So this has a bit more of the transparent brown in it. Now I'm also going to get in here, look into, got some of the orange there. We're going to go to the top of this. I do some glazes on that. We're going to do that same thing over here. Now I'm going to take some of this gray. We'll hit his tusks with that, tone those down. But you can see I always have my lighter colors available. And I can even do a little bit of wet into wet on that. Take just a touch of that yellow there, and we're going to, yeah, I'm going to lighten up where the horns meet with his head. I'm going to take some of that green here. We'll double down on that and just bring that, yeah. Do the same on this side. So I think we're, what, a half hour, 35 minutes into this? Yeah, about 35 minutes. And of course, there was introduction, there was getting the chat thing to work, and other things that kind of got in the way. Yeah, let's start to play with some of our metals now. This is a little bit more of a sky blue color. I just took some of the transparent blue there, and that gives us a whole very different color. It's what I was hoping for. And I always got my blue-gray that I can integrate into this. There's my blue-gray again. Got a touch of purple in that. What the heck? And that's going to go in here. Then we're going to try and make ourselves a bit of a transition here into that. There it is. Into the more of a sky blue that we threw in there. And notice I haven't been jumping to white or anything like that. Don't be hasty. Don't be hasty, little orcs. Now, this is something I haven't really been able to do too much of because, well, we don't usually have axe heads that are quite this broad to work with and open. I'm going to go even lighter. I'm going to bring in some of my pale green as well. Got these sort of half moon things here. Now, I guess it could have been fun too if I wanted to go more of a, well, I guess a de facto urban theme, have it more some kind of mosaic, almost like a Minoan style mosaic on the floor, whatever. So like I said, not getting into the white at all, especially not this early. So just bear with me while I hit some of these edges here. But let's move on. I'm going to put a little bit of this same blue over here. Yeah, that's just basically this little sky blue that I made. All I did was I took some of the transparent blue, mixed it with, I think, the pale green. And I'll double check on the pale green, see if that's what it's actually called. It's... Oh, let's see. Oh, Hey, Mr. Karcher, how's it going? Uh, Reaper Beastman sculpted by Ben Signs are cool. Yeah, one of the first Reaper figures that I ever remember painting were a bunch of gnolls. I think I had gotten those. I was going to use them for a Beastman Blood Bowl team way back in the day when Dave and Chuck and us we were doing the Blood Bowl League. I was definitely considering that. Never actually got. I still had some. I might even have one or two of those still. I think we ended up just kind of painting them and putting them on eBay. So there's some of the first figures that we ever put on eBay. Actually, we were having a chat about the photography on those things, and I had actually made a real fancy photography area where I had basically a wall, a dungeon wall or a stone wall. There was a whole landscape around it. I even had a sculpted tree, and we actually had a couple different color lights, and it looked fantastic. But people said, well, we love the pictures, but we can't really see what the miniature looks like, at least what it would look like at our house where we don't have all the fancy lighting and everything else. And that's, I'm starting to see that with photography now. That's kind of the flavor du jour now, is to have extreme lighting on it and all kinds of backdrops and everything else. And yes, the blue white fade that is now roundly criticized for whatever reason, and all it really does is show what the miniature actually looks like. That's kind of the whole reason why the blue white fade came into being, because it is the most true representation of what you've painted. So sorry for being on the soapbox there, but it's my show. I get to do that. I haven't really done a second little spectral light section like that, so I thought that could be fun. And drop that down a bit, and I'll come each round have a look at Zealot miniatures, Minotaurs. They came out with a Kickstarter. And now are those the? That's not the same company that did the Kickstarter that Kathy painted. Those couple of what the heck were they? Like hyena riders or something like that. I wonder if that's the same. No, yeah, maybe it is. I'd have to ask her. I'll try and remember that tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow's going to be interesting because I've got the interview there to do with, like I said, with Vince. That should be fun. Here, let's get a little bit more towards that purple here. Alexei Pavitsy is the sculptor. They're digital sculpts, though. And I'm pretty sure the ones she was doing were also digital sculpts. I could be wrong. I don't know, unfortunately. I wish I knew. So just now we start to work in. This is barely a middle tone right here. It's certainly not any kind of a highlight color. But because, like I said, we were really efficient at working in those darks in those early stages, even when we add a color this relatively dark, it looks light. I'll go back over to that green again here and push some of that into these shadow areas just a touch. Hopefully you can see down in here how that's going to work its way in. Especially, there's going to be the snow effects on the ground. It's pretty important to have anything that's facing towards the ground. Just have something that's more of a grayish tint. See, I've already been forgetting over here. Now, like I said, other folks, they like to prime things black and just paint little bits and pieces of them, or prime them white and do a bunch of glazes. But we didn't have the time for that. We it just we realized early on, right away, that no, we don't have time for this kind of approach, and that's when I came up with the whole shaded base coat technique. So I'm gonna actually kill some of these extra lights here. Don't really need them now. Get some more green here. And the monkeys here, we'll see what we can do with them. That's something I may just tackle tomorrow or something like that, when I can actually get a reference of them. But I do appreciate the quick pronto research there and filling me in on what they are, so now I can do that little bit of a search tomorrow. I mean, I suppose, well, let's see. I don't know if someone can Facebook me a picture or something like that. Maybe I could try and bring that up on the phone without too much interruption on what I'm doing here. Maybe. Alright, so there's our... And even that is not a white. That's just an off-white there. And I'm just trying to make a long... I always talk about that chain of highlights, right? We're doing the same thing here. Where's my sky color again? I'm going to get back into that over here. Something like that, and then back into my darker gray, wherever that might happen to be. Now here, I don't have quite the usual plethora of things to reflect off of, so that's why we kind of have to make up where the reflections might go. Almost think of maybe some off-camera type stuff here. Yeah, let's go back into this. Bit more. There we go. Now I'm gonna see what we can do with his belt buckle thing right here. And I'm gonna put do some other kind of glazes on that as well. I'm gonna go back to his teeth over here, his tusks. So we have some decent stuff going on with his eyes. Now let's do some more stuff. There's more stuff on his face here. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with his nose. These cheekbones here. Just glad I was able to work in that greenish color while I could. Let's get some darks. So I'm going to take some of the blue, transparent blue, and the transparent black. It's going to make nice, deep, rich, dark color here. Maybe with that Kickstarter, they only released the Minotaur line, so then it can't be the same thing. Oh, thanks. It's so funny. Well, you remember, geez, when's the first time I really tried to do non-metallic metal? Probably back in high school at St. Lawrence. And see, we can even get darker here now. When we were doing it's weird to think we were doing oil painting all the way then, and I'm still doing oil painting now, but now on miniatures. That's actually now the latest army painting series, because the Harad one is finished. And for those wondering, what do you mean army painting series? It's my Patreon page. I basically will take anywhere between half a dozen to a dozen miniatures or more, in the case of that Blood Bowl team. And I start with basing, and I take you through the entire process of painting that unit. And it tends to be, each series, maybe about between 12 and 15 hours long, depending on the complexity of the series. I've got a bunch of Lord of the Rings series that I've done. I'm just going to throw a glaze over here. See the quick difference that makes right there. Some of the different little details start to come out, and we can do some glazing here. Start to carry out that fur. Let's see if we can't do some of that here. We're talking about painting fur, so let's carry that mane more out into here. So, okay, if it's not sculpted on, maybe we sort of paint a little bit of that texture on there. We need to get some reflected light going in here, because if that's supposed to be metal and his fur is at least somewhat brown, we need to reflect that. That's good. Now I'm going to just drop a quick glaze here. Onto that. Let's get some darker tone in there. Let's get even. No, I don't want it to be too dark. There we go. Quick little glaze in there. And there. And I'm going to use some of my darkest brown here. Let's get some of the horns this at the end here. Just give it that kind of darkened look. It's interesting. I think, well, let's see. I think Kathy, she tends to do the horns getting lighter out toward, yeah, she trends towards doing the horns lighter out towards the end, and I'm just the opposite. And it's kind of always been that way, and I just have no idea why. It's just, that's how it is. I have no idea why. Even though we paint next to each other, well, we used to paint next to each other all the time, but we're obviously in the same building doing miniature painting. Now I am going to really try and double down here on some nifty purple into this blade here. And you've seen me do this before, especially, what was it, the Mountains Man, it's the King's Guard or something like that. Yeah, I think it was the King's Guard. So look at the difference that makes right there. It gets us a little more separation than just endless additions of lighter or darker bluish grays could. But while we got that, I'm also going to throw a touch of that over here now. Going to even add a little bit of the orange into that, because now we start to maybe think about some lighter stuff happening here. He's got one of those sort of like a brand there. That sort of scarring going on. Oh, there we go. And we've got other, the veins that are sculpted in there. So we'll just do this for now. Give that a little bit of a lighter look. Just, it's more to mark that it's there than anything else. But I don't want to lose those initial glazes that we did. It's no point in just wiping those out completely. Well, you can see this is where we just build. That shaded base coat stuff, it is the starting your house with foundation, concrete and rebar in a hole in the ground, instead of starting out with window treatments and roof tiles, because that's not going to make the best house in the world. At least not the sturdiest house. So you might want to think about this idea where you work on the entire figure all at once. in its entirety, because, well, this is what I was working on earlier. Can I actually, here we go. So something like this, you can see there's all kinds of stuff going on with him. So definitely wanted to get the primer out of the way first and go from there. Because anything next to black is going to look light, and vice versa. Anything next to white is going to look too dark. So we wanted to have his hands be a little bit different colors. So now the lighter sections here, we're going to do those with that green color, believe it or not. That's why it's sitting there. So that should be interesting. Because I can always glaze back over it. Can even get some lighter stuff going on here in his face before I do some more dark glazes there. I think his nose, wow. Tempted to just do that sort of dark grayish nose thing. Can you see his eye there? Boy, I really had to spin that around for you to be able to see his eye. But there is a lot of nice texture, I gotta say that. And again, Beast Wars, if you're just coming in now, you can always watch it again from the beginning, and that would sort of take you to the point where I show you the Kickstarter. Can't really kind of do that right now because, well, my hands were full. It's uh, Kathy's on, yep, she's on Twitch. She does, it's More Than Dice, and that's going to be, actually, she's doing her last one of the week tomorrow, so that is going to be Central Time between 3 and 5. And for me, if I'm going to do the Twitch thing, it's kind of, well, it's most likely going to be around this time. I'd like to try and do some during the day, but, well, someone else is already doing that here. And as we found out the hard way, there's these kind of things, these live streams just chew up bandwidth for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack. So, yeah, there's no way the two of us can be streaming at the same time. You can see as we work these things a little bit lighter, you start to see more and more of that fur texture. Now let's not make the entire hand have the greenish color to it. Let's go. Let's do something over here. And I grab that purple again. Grab some of the green there. With that, maybe I'll even throw some of that on the monkeys here. Now my phone is set to silent, so if someone has sent me a message with any kind of pictures of those monkeys' faces, I won't be able to know until I actually just kind of open up the phone and look at it, which I'm not going to really do right now for obvious reasons. Actually, now I have to scroll a fair way back up into the message stream there to figure out just exactly what they are called again. Oh, hey Barry, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't been able to do one of these for a while. I was trying to get the Twitch thing going, mostly because I can do different things on that I can't really do here. The Twitch thing is really more, okay, I've got 24 figures and all different states of painting and unpainting, and I'm just gonna, it's almost like I'm just sitting here painting and I turn the camera on. That doesn't work super well for YouTube. And, well, the other thing too is with Twitch, people are rewarded for staying, well, at least I think they are, for staying and watching longer. So that it makes those really down and dirty kind of workbench sessions more, they're just a better thing for Twitch. And with all the Adepticon stuff that I've got to do, well, it kind of makes sense to just give it a test. I wanted to see what if it would have even worked. I had no idea. Well, there was crazy sound things going on because the computer had done an update, and of course, it always. I hate those updates. Oh my gosh. Now we're gonna go back to some green again here. I'm gonna take maybe a different green. So we're gonna take the blue. That's our transparent blue. Now we get that brighter green, right? What are we gonna do here? We're gonna go into this. I sometimes like to in things that are, well, leather, put some of that greenish tone in there. I'm gonna get this cloth here, hit it with the green as well. Let's see what we can do here. Now I'm gonna use the. Want to hit that with some of the grayish green. Can you see what I'm? Oh, sorry, you can't really see what's happening there. The monkey heads are in the way. Let's see. Here we go. And again, this is from, what was it? The Beast Wars, BEEZT. I think that's how it was spelled. Yeah, let's go a little more of that purple there, but now I'm going to go back to this crazy green that we made, but it's got some of the purple in it now, so it's kind of by default we get a little bit of a blending going on. And that's going to go into this here where we start to get some lighter colors on that. Oh, I barely asked. I watched your airbrush undercoating video. Like it is. What do we call it? We call it very liberating, right? I'll never forget the Adepticon where I was doing a quick little just demo for somebody, and I was holding the brush like this on the very end, and literally just painting like this. And they said, "What the heck are you doing?" They thought I was just messing around with them because I was talking about not having a death grip on the end of the brush. And I said, well, I needed a softer application there. So we kind of just took it to the extreme. That's all it is. So I'm going to try and import a little bit more green into the actual green, I guess, into the loincloth there. Now we're also going to, on the other side of his mane, at least I'm going to call it his mane, try and get some lights into there. We're going to try and have that work its way into the rest of the fur that we did. There we go. I might even, just for the heck of it, at a certain point, maybe just throw the snow effects on, just to have them on there, and then you can sort of see the influence that something like that would have. But first, we're gonna take this gray here, and because I have to, and again, I have to anticipate that snow being there, and we'll be using that secret weapon, crushed glass, obviously. And like I said, I can show you that later on, but here, speaking of the great, so we got this hoof over here, right? We're gonna do the same thing with that, because what am I anticipating here? I'm anticipating doing this. So we're trying to do the blood effects and some of the snow there. Again, using the secret weapon, crushed glass. And I also want to reflect this to the degree where it almost looks like it's lit from below. So I think you can see that starting to emerge a little bit here. Let's see, right in here. Do the same thing over here. the stuff that's pointed down towards the snow, well, we're not doing object source lighting necessarily, but we're trying to get that reflected light. I mean, heck, you wear a black sweatshirt and you walk around in fluorescent light. Your black sweatshirt almost looks a little bit like it's green. Then you walk around in daylight, it's going to look different. You obviously incandescent bulbs will be different, giving you that orange glow. So I think that this is not a bad area to work on. You should be able to see that relatively easy. Like I said, we can go back and forth with this. We can do some darker glazes again on his. Well, that's sort of a sideburns there or whatever. This needed to be, yeah, it needed to be a bit darker. And I've used this analogy a bunch of times when it's hard to make things have any sort of contrast or impact as you make them lighter, well, that means you need to almost switch the other way and just start making things darker. That's just kind of the miniature telling you which direction you need to go. Now we're just grabbing a little bit of the transparent orange again. Gonna work into some of these areas, maybe even give it, dare I say, some kind of almost like a rust there. More for contrast than anything else. So I've got, again, that sort of a pale yellow ochre there. But yeah, I never even got to finish the whole tale about the oil brushers. Yeah, those 1 ounce, well, they're about 3 inches tall, I think. And the idea is to take my oil paints, mix them with the white spirits, thin those down to basically miniature paint consistency, which is what the oil brushers are. But now it's a squeeze bottle, which would be essentially like regular miniature paint consistency, now in the same kind of miniature paint container you recognize, but inside is oil paint that is basically ready to go. Let's get a bit of green into this too. So, I think you can, yeah, I'll just move this down. You can see it. Oh, even with brushes, it feels quite liberating. That is the word. Yep, this color here, this color there, and what the heck. Well, the terrain video is a lot like that. I was trying out some new stuff, mostly things from Luke's APS, and I used some of those again in a basing video. So I'm really liking the Luke's APS stuff. I'd seen some of his videos on his channel, and his stuff, it's a lot of, well, terrain dioramas, and because I was looking for, well, things mostly for terrain, but then I started thinking, yeah, these same textures should work on, well, a base, and sure enough they did. So I'm just gonna, boom, just some glazes on that to knock that down. Here a glaze, there a glaze. Here's another sort of a glaze. It's just gonna go down in there. And yeah, we need some of the greenish gray over here too. Oh, there we go. Let's drop that down a bit. Let's drop that down. So I see we had some kind of weird thing happen with the dropping of frames, and that kills the audience, sadly, and now it shows the 0 viewers, so I'm going to have to go back to my window here so that I don't lose my chat. So, well, yeah, we don't want to worry too much about the underside of this here because that's not super fun to watch. something I can always get to afterwards. Now, what do we want to do there? Let's go back to some of that purple again. And I got some of the veins right here. That one go over some knuckles. So there's definitely some nice musculature here. I think these are better than the GW ones that were just so, they had the weird looking noses. Remember those? And everything was just so blocky. I think maybe they've gotten away from the blocky stuff. Well, at least I hope they did. Because the newer sculpts, even the new monsters that they did for Sigmar, those seem to have a nice flow to the sculpts. I'm going to go back to some of this green over here. Let's make it even more of a brown. And that's going to go into here. And like I said, some of the reason why you're seeing all this green being incorporated in here is just to thinking about the future, thinking about the snow that's going to go there. Oh, what is it? We always say that weathering is like a chess match. You have to think several moves ahead. Well, I guess basing is like a chess match, and reflected light is like a chess match. Who knew that miniature painting was so much like a chess match? Now Barry has to head out. Oh, and hey, Mr. Saint Pitt, how's it going? Let's do right over here. Some of that. Now I'm going to go back to take that brown, take the purple with it. Again, transparent, brown, transparent. Well, basically my own homemade transparent purple when you think about it, because I just mix those together. Going to do a bit of a quick glaze over this and remove where necessary. Sometimes the glaze is to darken things down. Sometimes it's every bit as much to tint or smooth out an area as it is to just darken it. Because I think that was how we saw glazes for the longest time. It was just, okay, we need it darker, we'll just glaze it darker. Boom, that's what we did. And then we realized, well, we can do more with these than just that. We can actually shift the color slightly. I know, well, filters, I think, in the model world is what they call them. Especially when you get into military vehicles and people are going nuts with filters. Especially when you have the three-tone camo on a vehicle. I got some little bit of glazing going on here now. But again, as much to tint things and maybe soften some things as it is to just straight up darken stuff. And the nice thing about the Creature Caster slow fuse monument paints is you don't really have to worry about the crazy water marks and stuff that might happen with, say, a contrast paint. I'm looking here to see just how light, and again, still not white. I still mixed some of my sky blue color with that. So I have to determine, do I want to put any kind of, rust effects or whatever. Speaking of weathering being like a chest match. I gotta get some more solid lines there, and then I'm gonna go back. I got some gray here. Not quite sure if you can see what I'm doing. This is just a little bit of maintenance right here. Like I said, you can't really see much of what's happening there, but just that needed to be done. Let's do something right in here. I got my pale green. We're gonna do that. Basically making a greenish gray here. I get why you use the yellowish to contrast the purplish. It's weird sometimes. Well, like we talk about all the time with the cloaks, right? You got a red cloak or something like a Blood Angel Space Marine or something like that, and you want his armor, or even if he's got a red cloak, and you want that to be have something interesting in the darks. Well, you could just take it now, make some kind of darker red or whatever, and put that in the shadow areas. It's totally valid. Nothing wrong with that. But boy, when you use something like, oh, I don't know, maybe even a Dark Angel's green, and that's what goes into your shadow area. Cloak still looks red, but now those shadow they get deeper because guess what? Green is a cooler color than red, so that just starts to sink down into the background. This is almost like a little bit of a lemon yellow type color here. Oh, let's see what we can do with this buckle over here. And just a few little do thingies on the edge. There's another highly technical paint term right there, or miniature painting. They're do thingies. Whatever those do thingies are. I'm going to hit the tusks again. And like I said, some things I just can't really reach because, well, I'd have to turn this in such a way you'd never be able to see it. That's no fun. Now, we got to do something in there to it. I don't want that to get too boring, so I'm going to try another type of browners. This is the transparent brown again. Mix it with a little bit of this. Ah, there we go. So there's another type of brown we really haven't used before. See if I can get that on this horn. Here, let's go back there again, and there's some decent little bit of striation sculpted into these horns, so I'm going to try and catch some of that. I'm so tempted to put some kind of weathering in there. You know, I'm just going to not do that, at least for right now. Let's see what we can do without putting all the weathering and stuff in there, or the rust. Let's see what we can do just with regular metals here. So we throw some lights in there. Now here's some of that. The purple again. That's going to go in here. I've got to get some kind of reflected light in here too. Can maybe even work in a little bit of green into that. And of course we have plenty of room to go as far as making it lighter. Can use, oh yeah, that's in the center of the screen. Sometimes, I guess I've talked so much about the old painting pyramid videos. Yeah, it got so extreme there. It wasn't enough to just mark off on the table where my elbows needed to be, but there were times where I actually just taped myself to the table in order to just have the miniature not go off camera. And 6 years later, I still keep thinking about that. I don't really think I need to worry all that much. Now maybe I try and get a little bit of texture into this here. So here's some more of that green. The dreaded color wheel. Boy, that was one of the first thing when we were in art school. They hit us with that, and man, did that confuse the heck out of us. We basically had to make a color wheel out of these swatches of watercolor paint that we had done. That was a nightmare. None of us learned anything. And even to this day, I don't even have one of those color wheel things. I never bring it up because most people they get so confused by it that it's almost like paralyzing for them. So let's get some more of our metal in here too. Yeah, maybe I will still do a bit of weathering in there, but first I want to get some more lights in. I want to make sure the palette's not also marching off the out of the camera there. And for those of you that are new, this is from Beast Wars here, and I'll bring up the campaign again. But if you missed the early parts of this, the crazy, ultra messy early parts of this, well, you can always go back to the beginning. I have a feeling that's just why, unfortunately, on these, my view duration always gets nailed because I think people just see what looks like an unholy mess and they stop watching and they just leave. Kind of wish they would at least just, I don't know, fast forward a bit and go, oh, wait a minute, what was that? So I'll show you one here. This is from, again, a part of the Patreon series. So look at that blade there. You can see you got the pinks and the blues and everything going on just to try and create more than a bunch of gray blues. We used to do that. We thought, okay, metal is blue-gray, right? That's what it always is. Well, it's really not. It's much more than that. I'm going to go even more towards the pink and purple side of things here. Just bear with me. There we go. And you can see I'm stippling this a bit, almost making it look more like hammered metal, hammered steel, as opposed to some kind of smooth plate. Here, let's reflect something there. Yeah, you can see what I've got going here. And I'm going to take that same coat. Now I'm going to start to integrate that into some of the fur here. And I wish they would just wait till we get to this part because, well, you know what? It gets to be less crazy. You know, the brush is not flying around all over the place. It's maybe a little bit more like what they're used to. So yeah, I do wish we could. I don't know what to do about that, other than just kind of put some kind of weird message up there that says, "Look, don't fast forward or don't leave. Just wait. It gets better." I need some. I'm gonna get some more of this lighter green here on the hands, a little bit on my handle of his big old weapon right here. Throw some of that into here. And I'm gonna actually try and get again some of this lighter gray into the hair, maybe even into the horns, like you do. Oh, I'm gonna get these things before I forget those. Oh, and I might just hit this fur a little bit again. We darkened it down. Can lighten that up again. We got this little bit of metal right here. At least I think that's what it is. Alright, can you see that? I'm just trying to get this past this one horn. Like this. Again, don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I wish I could do the YouTube lives all the time, but, well, I have to, gotta make the Patreon videos, and sometimes there's just stuff that sometimes there's things I can't show. But, oh, well, now, here's some exciting news. Now, I don't know when the ETA is, and this is a super secret thing just between us. There should be a 3D printer coming this way. A resin printer. Now, I'm sure all of the initial stuff that I do is just going to be printing of. There's a couple of companies that I'm working with from Europe, and we'll be probably printing some of those. The Artisan Guild, for sure. Be printing out some of those. Well, that's when I actually learned how to use the darn thing. But one of the impediments to me trying to use it was I had no idea what the heck I was doing, and it would take me months just to try and not burn the house down or whatever. So I now have several guides to help me along the way, and that could also, well, we're trying to work out some Patreon possible pledges there, where it's you get the print, right? Not necessarily the actual physical miniature, but you get the file. That's the word for it. And then you also obviously would have the tutorial for it, how to paint it. But maybe at a certain point I'm able to break down files and maybe take pieces of them away, like this Minotaur's head. Okay, if I have this is 3D sculpted, and I'm able to get the file of it, maybe I just take his head, and that's just we make it 3 or 4 times the size, because hey, it's a digital file, you can do that, and then sort of turn it into a little painting exercise. Oh, Frankie goes to Hollywood. Oh, well, let's see. Let's see. Midnight. Oh, it's got to be pretty late for you. But thanks for stopping by. It's much appreciated. No, thank you very much, Mr. St. Pitt. I appreciate the kind words. See, I'm trying to now integrate a little bit of fur texture in here. It's almost a bit like what you would do on, say, like a cloak or whatever, right? Where you want it to have that sort of stitched look. Because, I mean, yeah, skin, it is supposed to be body of a man and head of a bull and all that. But we're sporting some hair too. So now I'm going to get a little bit lighter here. And maybe now this is where I do start to work in some fur texture here. And we're nowhere near as light as we could possibly go, that's for sure. You just try and keep those particular arrows in your quiver. Just wait till the time is right. Now let's go on the opposite right here. Again, trying to think about some fur texture now, because those early stages we're just blocking in our colors and values. I can even use my hand here, push that around a bit. Let's see what we're going to do for this. I got to give it some kind of a lighter edge up towards the top there. And so we're going to, again, take some of these. I'm going to go back into my red here, make a crazy, totally insane, almost a bright red color here that we are going to put on his face. And we're even going to integrate some of that into here. I hope that some of that at least shows up. I don't know if it is. It would be nice if it did. Like I said, the camera was just fine when I was filming my video, just minutes before I started doing this, and then it just decided to go all crazy. Not sure why. The tech things, I don't know if it's the latest Windows update has done something. Yeah, see it just, can you see that? Yeah, you can see that now. See that bright red that worked its way in there? Been looking forward to that. Now, we don't want to just have him with glowing eyes, so let's see what I can do to give him some eyes here. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if you can, but there, now he's got himself an eye. But yeah, I do appreciate everybody that watches. It does, well, it's nice to actually have some company for one thing. And if you want to get the alerts for these things when they happen, well, as I keep reminding myself, you have to, well, not just subscribe, but hit the all notifications bell. And that's the thing I just keep doing. I did it once again this week and wondered why in the world was I not getting my notifications. Yeah, I looked and I had forgotten to do that. So don't be like me. Remember to hit the all notifications bell. I see we have a little bit of a buckle right there. I'm going to get some of that here. Here's some of that green. Because, as we always say, you have green and purple together like that, they just make a gray. And even though this is green and even right next to it's purple, when people look at this from a distance, it's just going to register as a gray, and that's it. I know it seems unlikely, but that is kind of how it works. I kind of had to sort of convince myself. I knew it all along, but I just kind of had to convince myself of that. Let's see if we can't get some of that same green to be worked into here. So real quick here, let me go over to my camera controls and I'm going to do this again because that seemed to work pretty well. Alright, we're going to turn the autofocus off. We're going to focus ourselves here. That's better. I'll drop my brightness a bit. Now you can see some of that green in there. Well, I want you to be able to see what we're doing here because this is, remember we talked about the reflecting of the snow on the skin tone. Let's do that here. Now, I'm not going to dwell, like I said, not going to dwell too much on the underside of this here because, well, we only have so much time. There we go. Yeah, see, that's the first time I've ever tried just restoring the defaults while I'm working on it. That's kind of an interesting, that's not a bad way, I guess, to try and correct the camera doing weird things. So again, more of the green, gonna get to this cloth here. We gotta do some on the other side too. Actually, throw a little bit of yellow into that. Just a bit there. And look at this, we'll even get some of that into the mane here. Gonna integrate some more of this green into the whatever the weapon is here. And see, we got the purple on the other side. You know, I know that there's the green there, and well, now you guys do too. But when the people are looking at this, they won't see it as the separate green. We just did it here too. We got some green right over there. Actually, boy, oh, it was when I was doing the Facebook Live episodes, and I was doing the oil painting thing, and I was having purple and green mixing together and doing all kinds of wild, crazy stuff. It was like a bright green and bright purple, all kinds of happy colors all going together. Now let's do a bit of lightning on his beard here or whatever. So I'm just gonna get my, there we go. I need to get my YouTube thing back. I really do need that second monitor here. I just don't think there's gonna be time to readjust this entire area and still get all the Adepticon stuff done. So that may just have to wait until after we're done with Adepticon, sadly. Okay, let's get the, yeah, looking to incorporate some more of this even in the metals here. Oh, let's get some also here on the, yeah, it's not much fun to look at, but we have to do something there at least because that's going to show up. There we go. So we've got the purple on that side, and then it goes down into your green on this side. And the idea is to bring in some of that, reflecting some of that snow. Let's start to make this a little bit lighter too as we work our way down our Minotaur here. And I think I might just do the snow effects here in the next 15-ish minutes, 15, 20 minutes. I'll do the snow effects. And then some of this stuff will make even more sense when I do that. Here we got the, again, some more reflections here. And see how much lighter I can still go in a lot of these places. Is nowhere near a white. When you think of, say, a value scale where 1 is your lightest and 10 is your darkest, and even this is about a 3. But it starts to look like a highlight just because of how dark everything is around it. Okay. Now, gonna get some more. Yeah, I gotta go back here too. I know this is not the most interesting part of the Minotaur here, but we got some fur to do. Gonna throw some glazes over these two. What we're doing here. We will do some glazing. Like I said, the monkeys over there, not gonna mess with those too much. I think I'm just gonna really focus in on this side over here. Let's get ourselves a bit of, yeah. See, now we're on the back of his mane here. We definitely want to bring out just a few strands of that. Definitely want to get out a few strands of that. And like I said, these monkey things here, I'll wait till tomorrow, which is already right now because it is tomorrow. There, we'll throw a couple of these guys here. A couple more bright highlights on the fur. Gonna get in here now with a few glazes. Gonna take some of the, again, that's the transparent black. We'll make some of the purple with that. Why not? That's the purple that I made. I mean, there is transparent purple, but that's kind of a light color actually. I don't even know if you can see this, but some glazing now. And I always have some sponges nearby that I can use. Let's do some of these. There's a bunch of different places that I want to do these. Oh, let's get down into here. And now all of a sudden, some of those highlights, where those are knocked down a little bit. We try and leave some of them intact. We're gonna try and we're gonna get some of the brown into this, and we'll get some dark glazes back into some of his fur here. Now we'd add those lights up here. Well, I'm gonna get a few. Yeah. It says sometimes this is back and forth, where sometimes we're darkening things, sometimes then we lighten things, and just go back and forth. It kind of helps you keep things sort of balanced. Now we need an edge over here on this metal, like so. I need some darks on that handle and on his hands and on that. And using the ProAcryl Transparent, and then mixing in a few of the more opaque type colors. So here we're going to do some darker glaze into here, like his beard right there. I hope you can see that. At least enough. Now we'll go back in again here with some, even, I can keep working a little bit lighter here. Some of that, I keep wanting to call it bubonic brown. Not quite sure why, but there, let's, again, we're doing some fur texture here too. It's not just getting that lighter. We're trying to make some fur texture as well. I don't want to lose all of that purple in there. So I could always do, let's say it does get a little bit further away from the purple and then too much towards that yellowish color. And I can always then do that tint slash glaze over it. Here, I'm going to take some of the pale blue, mix it with that red. So now we got sort of a light purple going on here. And we're going to try and find ourselves some fur texture on the hands, on the shoulders, and even here on the blade. Going to make that a lighter pink right there. But like I said, with all the different stuff going on here, that just now will not register as pink. It's going to be something else. Now, I want to go back to my darker green again. That greenish gray. I think you can see, yeah, you'll be able to see that. And we're going to put in a few, that same sort of fur texture, but now doing it with the green, whereas before it was just kind of flat applications of that color. Now we're actually trying to, we're going to try and integrate here some of that fur texture, even with our green color. And sometimes maybe it gets, I did it too bright somewhere. That's okay. There's another almost like a magenta color right there. I'm going to get that back into the face if I can. Lighten it even more if possible. Again, this is something you're going to have a tough time seeing. So I'll just have to describe the action for you. Now this is, I can see, okay, that's the point where the head just sort of meets the body. Now I didn't assemble these guys. They sort of arrived assembled, so sometimes the assembly process, while it can be, well, it's not always the most thrilling thing in the world. It can familiarize you. Oh, hey there, Rob. Sorry, I just gotta bring back Mr. Chat here. Oh, thanks a lot. It is, I know it's kind of an unusual set of colors, the pinks and the greens and the purples all side by side, but uh, I don't know. I've seen, we used to paint, obviously, well, we painted a bunch of brown Minotaurs, and they had some nifty shading on them, but there's just something kind of fun about this, especially when that snow hits it. That really make that stand out. So actually, I'm going to do that now while we're thinking about it. So I'm going to move my palette off to the side here, get that out of the way. And we're going to get one of these guys, like so, because now we're going to play with this. So again, from Secret Weapon Miniatures, some crushed glass. Now you see I've got this thing out here. I'm going to get some of the dust off of it. And we got, it says do not shake. Usually when I have a new jar, I write do not shake in big old letters, because what's the first thing we do with a bottle of anything is we grab it and try to shake it. Now here, of course, also we've got a thing where the top is stuck here. There we go. This is good for other stuff too. Like let's say it's like almost like an art coat too. So we're gonna put some of this out here, but not too much. Can always put out more later. Now crushed glass, and it is crushed glass, and warning. Now it contains crushed glass, so you really don't want to be rubbing your eyes afterwards. I mean, if you don't blow on this stuff, it's not gonna go anywhere. This is why I got it in my little container right here. Now I'm gonna grab myself another craft brush. Maybe if I hold it, now you can see it. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna integrate these two together. Now you can see, look at, this is why I like this versus the other types of snow, the Valhalla Blizzard, the Woodland Scenic stuff. See, the more, look at that. See how it looks like melted snow right there? You can't get that effect from anything else. You just can't. All the other snows, what do? They do that bright, fresh fallen snow. Look at this. See how that a totally different texture to it? And like I said, you mix a little bit at a time. You can always mix more because this has it's got a finite working time to it. And you can always do additional layers. Heck, you can do a layer like this here where it's almost more melted, and then do some less melted snow on top. Now let's grab our batch of snow here. Let's not get that into the water effects. Here we go. We put that on there. And now we're going to start pushing that around. You have to kind of sculpt it, and this is it's an acquired, what would you say? It's an acquired, not taste, but an acquired skill. To work this stuff, yeah, it can be a little tricky at times. So see, we can have, look at it, it hangs over the edge there. And I grab yet another brush here. Just bear with me. And we'll push this around some more. Just move this around. You can move it around for a while, but see how it's also got some transparency to it. Now I'm going to actually throw out some more of my crushed glass here, because I want it to be maybe a little less melty. But let's say you want to do the icicle thing, like on that Warcry figure that I showed you earlier. And we'll bring him back up again. But let's say you wanted to have the icicles. Well, you can't just have fresh fallen snow with a bunch of icicles, right? Because, well, snow, to make icicles, snow has to melt. Alright, so here, let's just gather some of this together. Put some of this on the end, and you can see that this is more of a fluffy snow right here. Look at this, we're just integrate it right into that other snow. See how nice and smooth that is? So over here, drop some of this in place, and now we'll just manipulate it. And yes, I know it kind of drives the camera a little bit nuts. I didn't realize that you could push this stuff around like this. I did not know that. You can practically sculpt it. But once I'm done with this little tray, container thing, whatever, it just gets chucked in the garbage. Because you don't want to be screwing around with that. So again, see what I'm doing here? I'm just sort of sculpting that around his hoof. So now that hoof, like it's actually part of, looks like it actually is part of the base there. It's another way to, well, kind of fill some gaps that can sometimes happen with the bark and branch method. Alright, there's another little chunk that's going to go right there. Now we're going to manipulate this. It's going to take a little while to settle, and the bigger the piles are like these, the longer it's going to take to settle. So you have to be careful where you're putting your fingers if you're going to be painting after this. I guess I was hoping that this might dry or set enough so that we could do those blood effects before I've got to go. And I'm going to need some more. But like I said, a little goes a long way. Start with less, add more. Now I could even put some of this on him, like there's some snow that's falling on top of his head, but I think we're going to not do that maybe. But I want to get some more of this outer, so we're going to put some more of the water effects here, just a little bit. For whatever reason, less water effects, just I always end up putting up a little bit too much of the water effects, and I end up with that meltier snow variety. So again, we're going to mix this together here. Now that snow is definitely, it's not quite so fresh fallen. It's got a little bit of meltiness to it. And I'm going to squeegee some of that out of the brush there. Rubbing alcohol will clean this stuff out of the brush. However, then this is probably not something you'd want to mix into your normal paint water or something, because these glass crystals will accumulate in there. So let's push this around again. There we go. Let's push some of that around. We need to finish up surrounding his hooves here. So we'll push the snow around. Have to think, well, okay, where would the snow accumulate? You also know why I didn't get too crazy about painting the base, because, well, it's mostly covered with the snow. We'll put some more there. Let's do a bit of an overhang here. What the heck? So see how that's starting to lean over the side there? And look at it, I'm just pulling it down. Where else can we? See, I'm going to pile up a little bit more here. And so I'm going to move that towards the edge. So see how it's just kind of hanging down there off the edge? It's just, you can't really do this kind of stuff with the other types of snow. And I actually have another video where I did try. I literally used, I think, 5 different materials. Try to just compare them one to the next. And then when it came to the blood effects, that's where you really saw the difference, because it did not work for the blood effects. So as this sets up a little bit here, let me show you what I'm talking about with the blood effects here. So see how that just kind of settles into the crystals like that? When you try and do a blood effect down here, it will settle into those crystals, because that's what happens with snow. It's like sort of like a slushy, right? All right, I'm going to get rid of this, bring my palette, and we'll start painting again as we let this stuff settle. So palette comes back. And let's start doing some of our painting again here. Now we've got some of this is my homemade purple again. Guess what? Orange and purple makes a very nice sort of darker brown. And we're going to incorporate some of that now into the horns here. And even onto the his scabbard here for his big old sword. Maybe even onto the leather strap here. I guess that's holding his armor in place. I'm going to get some of this yellow in here. Again, these are the ProAcryl Transparent paints along with some of the regular paints. Remember some of the green that we used. Alright, where did that guy come from? Just going to put him right back on there. Just let me wash some of that crushed glass off of my hands if you don't mind. We're going to get a lighter version of this right in here. There we go. Now I want to go back into this green over here. And it's right on his hand. Yeah. Remember the green and purple side by side, they're going to essentially turn into a gray. And if anything like this, let's say this is good enough, you need it for a game or whatever, well, you're good to go. You let your snow effects kind of dry and settle. Then you do the game, and then you come back next day or a couple days later or whatever, and you put it back on the dead paint jar like I've got it here, and you start painting it again, and you continue. Doesn't all necessarily have to be, now of course I guess if it's a competition piece or whatever, well then you're going to want to get that painted all the way through. Now, oh yeah, here's so I wonder where that pale green was. Looking to lighten this up just a touch here. Few things on just on that mane. I was really tempted to throw some of the snow onto that, and I just said, nah. It's something I do all the time, because when I walk to the store, and we're not talking a blizzard here. We're just talking some snow. By the time I get to the store, which is only a block and a half away, I look like the abominable snowman. I'm just covered in snow, every surface that's not like skin or whatever, the snow doesn't melt, obviously. It just sits there like on the brim of my hat. Now I got some yellow mixed with some of my lighter colors here again to do a little bit of work here to lighten up the horns. Again, just trying not to smush my snow. That is why it's the last thing I do to figure if it's in that work session. I'm not going to be picking it back up later. That's the last thing I'll do so that it has a chance to sit there. But I wanted you guys to kind of get a sense of why I've been adding all of this. Now this green down here starts to make sense. Or at least I hope it does. That's kind of the idea. Now let's go back to my green over here. Give him a green thumb. And boy, it looks so bright here and it's so dark on the palette. How's about some more of that? Maybe even on his face here. I just tilt this over. Try not to tilt it too much while stuff dries. I think he does actually have some teeth here that I just want to get in. There we go. And I know you can't quite see what I did there. I'm adding a few. It's time to actually get some decent little highlights in some spots. Why not? Because eventually, I know I always advocate leaving the highlights and stuff until last. Especially on metals or those really bright highlights. Definitely a good idea to sort of wait on those. Now let's see if I can't work in a few, a couple of areas of lighter color here, and whatever this little decorative element is here and the weapon. It's again not too much, not to go too crazy with it. Let's do something here along the edge of that scabbard there. Yeah, just a little bit. Wipe away the excess again. I'm going to try a little bit more with the fur texture here. And for those that were there from the beginning and saw how this started out, they probably never imagined that there would ever come a time where we'd have one of the smaller brushes and just be doing some chill application like this. They probably thought forever and ever it was just going to be this insanity. So he's got like this, again, a little bit of a brand here, and we're going to try and I need to integrate one more highlight here, and then there, that's better. We will drop a couple more lights on the horn here. So yeah, that's the big thing when you add that snow in there. Boy, it really, that's why we had to be thinking well in advance before the snow ever got on there is, okay, what's gonna be around it. That's why we did all of this grayish green down here. Some more here. So I don't know. I do hope that some of these ideas don't seem too bizarre, especially when you just see them in action. Because when I tell people about them, of course, there's kind of a, hey, what are you talking about reaction? Seeing is believing. Because you can tell people, yeah, okay, we did that in 2 hours or whatever, and they can say, no way, there's no way that happened in 2 or 3 hours. Well, let's see. It's 4:36, so it's only been 2 hours. And this thing had zero paint on it whatsoever. So this is primer to this, including the snow, in basically, well, not really 2 hours and 5 minutes because we spent the first 5 minutes trying to get the chat going and do other stuff. Now, I've got this orange over here, so let's see if we can't work that into the, yeah, see up here on the top part of his leg. I hope you can see that. There we go. We are working in all kinds of colors here. Greens, oranges. In this one area, there's pink, orange, green, all just in that one area there. And we'll get even more towards the, oh look, we're almost using traditional brown for a Minotaur. It only took us this long to get back around to doing that. And you know what? I'm going to integrate some of that into the clothes. Now this certainly needs something in here. So let's go. Can you see that? I do think you can. So let's do that. Yeah, look at that. Again, it's another shift away from what you would think traditionally would be a fur color. How's about that? Now let's see if we can't get some right in there. Yeah. I mean it's a magical beast anyways. Why would it have just the same old as far as coloration goes? Why not just go crazy with it? And we certainly have done that. We've definitely gone wild with our colors here. There's a lot of neat musculature on this, so now I usually actually put in this area more of a pinkish tone anyways. I'll show you again one of those, oh, not Splintered Fang, it's one of the Untamed Beasts here. Yeah. So see that sort of pinkish color there around the knee? We're going to go for some of that. One second here. Those were just kind of locked weapons. I try to put them back. Some more of the pink color there. A few strands of it here. But then, you see, I've got the yellow and the orange over here. Let's do some of that right here. Yeah, the chest actually also needs some. I just want to make sure we're on screen for you. If I ever get too light too fast, I can go back in and knock that down. Get me something to drink here. 1 second. There we go. I just had to move the mic so that you didn't get sounds of me trying to gulp down some water. Again, a few. Just trying to get some fur texture here. So I don't know. Now it's the challenge is going to be what title do we give this, because well, now we just started to do fur texture instead of just how to paint a Minotaur. Maybe it should be how to paint fur texture. Guess I'll have to relabel this thing. neat. Now again, the monkeys over here, I'm going to have to get a reference picture and fool around with those at a different time. We'll deal with that later. Now I certainly am going to go back to my darker green over here. Just want to make sure that my snow is not just kind of leaking off the surface. I think it's actually now pretty well mostly set. But I don't think I'm going to do the blood effects, as tempted as I am to do that. I kind of wanted the metal on the blade to still show, and if I do cover it up with the blood effects, you kind of lose all the stuff that we just were talking about. Alright, I want to go back to some... This is a different type of purple here. It's more of a bluish purple. We'll get some of that into here now. Yeah, that's a fun color there. You can still see some of the original layers of the brown glazes that we did. Some of that's still there. But yet we're integrating yet another color into this. That kind of was sort of there in some places, but now it's going to be a little bit stronger. Where are we at? There we go. It's almost like we're adding faded ultramarine to this. That's really good. That goes with that green really nicely there. And as I mentioned before with the ProAcryls here, as soon as you start to add some of those opaque colors, man, you go from transparent to cover everything in a heartbeat. It does not take long. I'm going to integrate a little bit of that, here's some of that darker purple into the horns. Hopefully you can, yeah, I think you can see that. Let's get some of that over here. So I'll try and make the usual thumbnail picture so you have that. But if you do the Instagram thing, if you're new to this, well, I do suggest subscribing to the channel, but also do check out the Instagram, because that's got pictures of finished things. That's really, it used to be the blog that I put stuff like that, but it's just better off with doing the Instagram thing. It's just media changes over time, and basically there's really nowhere to be putting the links to my blog, so I just went right to Instagram with that. No, that's going to be too late. Too late. So I'm back into some of my greenish gray that I made. There we are. And just we're going to get some on the knuckles here. And his fingers. Let's see if I can do some stuff on the nose here. Wow, I wish I had known about the monkey heads there. Could have been interesting to at least try to do one of those with the crazy on camera. I will obviously, I'll paint those up later when it comes time to do all the overall pictures of this to post to the Instagram page. Now this gotta do something over here too. Here, that needs some. This needs, again, a bit of that sort of greenish gray. I might still do some kind of rust effect on that maybe, but I'm just going to try and, there we go, manipulate that. Gotta get some reflections in here. Something besides just a dead dark color that's down in there, obviously. Now I'm gonna go. This been basically the green has been that sort of blue gray, and hit it with a little bit of a transparent yellow. Can you see what I'm doing here? It's going right down in the, yeah, right down in there. Gonna get some under the skin of his hands. Maybe even up there on my metals. And I'm gonna throw in a few little bits of it onto the handle of the weapon. It's some kind of, oh guys, not really a glaive. It's kind of too short for a glaive, which is weird because it's a big old Minotaur weapon, and you're saying it's too short. How about some, yes, 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 needed some much needed greens over here. There was just, yeah, that was still our initial glazes that were sitting over there, so good to work that in. I know I'm not doing lots and lots of profound chatting here. It's because of my just trying to think of what, as we try and get towards the end of this here, what do I need? I don't want to lose everything, all of that early stuff that we put in. Don't want to lose everything there. I still want to keep working with some of these pinks and purples too, just to keep the flesh tone and fur looking interesting. I will even, yeah, let some of that even work its way into the hand over there now. We had a weird kind of a hard transition there where we incorporated the green. So when we just go over it with our next color, here's some of that almost brownish type color. Can't look into, whoops, that's going to be just too much. So tone it down. Then back to a, I mean, this is such a, it's a dark green, but it actually looks almost light when I add it here. It's just, it's hilarious how effective those first glazes were at bringing in the dark tones. Now I'm going to go back to some darker browns here. Just cause. I mean, who would have, this is like one of the few times we've actually used brown on the Minotaur, which is hilarious. And we're going to go back to our purple on this thing, whatever this little Minotaur or the bull symbol is there. I'm just going to assume that's what that is. How's about a bit more here? Again, thinking about where the snow will reflect on that skin tone. Yeah, we got lots of fun different things going on with this. Now I've got, like I said, for folks that are just kind of coming in here towards the end, I always try to link things in the description. I'll link the Kickstarter that where this miniature came from. I'm going to link that in the description. I also have at some end screens, so that's at the very end of the video. You check those out. It'll link you to other things that are kind of similar. So maybe This will link it to some Warcry things where it's got a lot of skin tone on it. I think that's probably a good bet right there, because something like this would probably, heck, there's even a Warcry. That's the guy with the shield. Well, Warcry, Sigmar, I guess it could be either one. So yeah, I think this would be pretty good exercise for painting whatever that, I forget what his name is. Is that the Myrmidon? So just a few more. Yeah, look at this. In some areas, I'm actually looking for things to be a bit smoother rather than with so much necessarily fur texture. Oh, let's get ourselves, yeah, we need some green on this too. How's about right there? Yeah, that's good. And maybe over here. Just, I need some reflected light there too. And I'm going to try and integrate some of the, again, this is the color of the mane. Work that into this fur. But I know it's been an obsession here, but I want to try and get some fur that reflects the snow. What can I do? I don't want it to just stand out too much, though. And you know what? We will get ourselves some highlights here on the hooves, the hair that's right, because it's just so darn close to the snow. It makes sense. Some more of that's the blue-gray we'll add in there. Yeah, let's get some. Where's my sky? There's my sort of sky blue color that I made. Let's get a little bit more of that. Looking to maybe do some reflection there. Let's do some little bit of leather work on the handle here. We'll go with some yellow incorporated into that. I'm going to hit this side of it too, just to have those line up a bit. Let's get a little light on the top of that. Here we go. Top edge of this needs some kind of a light. I want to do something similar here. Gonna just drag it out with my finger. It's kind of an uneven edge. And I will try it. Yeah, let's get a bit of. I think we also had. Well, that's almost like a blood color right there, but we had this sort of cut right here, so we'll do something like that. Maybe even have a little bit of your typical kind of blood that comes out of that. I'm gonna get a bit of a shadow on the underside of that, of his branding here. And there we go. Well, again, I appreciate everybody watching this. Like I said, if you can drop a like on this and want to do the subscribe thing, that's good too. But just if you give the Patreon page a look-see, there's, well, now if you include so that the tutorial I was working on today, you're getting closer to 350 hours worth of tutorials, and that is no joke. That's probably an underestimate. That might be closer to 400. So feel free to go over there, check that out. And like I said, I try to always do new mediums, new miniature companies. And now I'm going to be getting a 3D printer, so there'll be even more stuff that I can do for the Patreon page. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.